This is the Washington Times front page for Wednesday, August 4th, 2021. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. New York State Attorney General Letitia James has announced that an investigation determined Governor Andrew Cuomo violated federal and state law by sexually harassing women in the workplace. After a roughly 5-month investigation, legal affairs reporter Alex Swoyer reports the Attorney General found Cuomo created a hostile work environment for women from 2013 through 2020. James said independent investigators reviewed more than 74,000 pieces of evidence and conducted 179 interviews. The evidence and a report were made public. The Democratic governor remained defiant after the announcement, saying he never touched anyone inappropriately and that the facts are much different than what has been portrayed. President Biden, as well as Democratic New York Senators Chuck Schumer and Kirsten Gillibrand, have called for Cuomo's resignation. Staying in New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio says customers must prove they've been vaccinated for COVID-19 to enjoy indoor dining, use gyms, and attend public performances. Tom Howell reports the changes make the Big Apple the first city in the nation to impose rules for admission. De Blasio said the policy, which includes workers at venues, requires people to demonstrate they've received at least one dose of an approved vaccine. Patrons can present federal vaccination cards or show proof on a city or statewide-based health app. He said requirements for tourists and out-of-state commuters will likely depend on the vaccination cards issued by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. De Blasio said he plans to use feedback and fine-tune the policy before its August 16th debut. The city will start to enforce the requirement on September 13th. He said he expects the policy to be controversial, but insisted it is necessary and can serve as a model for the rest of the nation. At the White House, the Biden administration has announced a limited moratorium on evictions as landlords and tenants flooded courts across the country after a comprehensive federal ban expired over the weekend. White House correspondent Jeff Murdoch and congressional reporter Mika Selner report the action will be targeted to areas of the United States with the highest rates of COVID-19 infections, covering 80% of the nation's counties and 90% of the population. The moratorium will last for 60 days and expire on October 3rd. Tensions between the Biden administration and House Democrats escalated over the weekend, with each side blaming the other for letting the moratorium lapse, potentially leaving as many as 15 million Americans homeless. It's not clear whether the new eviction moratorium will survive a legal challenge, though. Last month, the Supreme Court signaled the CDC overstepped its authority when it imposed the first ban in September of 2020. A reminder that you can find all these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. Don't have access yet? Visit WashingtonTimes.com/George and get 25% off your annual subscription. In Afghanistan, the Taliban's success in capturing territory and beating back government troops has emboldened the insurgents as they launch an aggressive urban offensive. Ben Wolfgang reports that Taliban and government forces are battling to control key cities, including Lakshar-Gah, the capital of the strategically vital Helmand province in southern Afghanistan. Afghan officials reportedly ordered civilians to leave the city ahead of a major military offensive against the Taliban. Shortly after the U.S. withdrawal schedule was announced, Taliban insurgents began overrunning government forces across rural Afghanistan, including areas where they had not been operating. The group now has its sights set on provincial capitals and ultimately may mount an attack on the capital of Kabul, where the United States maintains an embassy guarded by U.S. Marines. And finally, the Biden administration has launched its first major reorganization of operations at Immigration and Customs Enforcement, dividing the agency's detention actions into two sections, with one devoted specifically to managing released migrants. Stephen Dinan reports the Custody Management Division previously oversaw migrants in detention and those released into communities while waiting for deportation proceedings. That second group will now have its own division, the Non-Detained Management Division, according to an internal ICE announcement. Acting Executive Associate ICE Director Corey Price told employees they expect an expansion of releases of migrants whose deportation cases are pending. Find all of today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and subscribe for free to the front page. Just search Washington Times on your favorite podcast platforms. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.